Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. We really appreciate you giving up your time. My name's Shubra. I'm the Sales Director with ANZCRO. And this month we have the big Kiwi sale. So we are doing a lot of activity with a lot of our suppliers. And so we wanted to use this opportunity to be able to give you a real taster of New Zealand, the destination. So I would like to ask you to all switch off your microphones, and appreciate that some of you are in branches and so may need to deal with clients, etc. Feel free to add any kind of questions or comments to the comments box. We will look at those at the end of the presentation. But for now, I'm going to introduce you to Lily from Tourism New Zealand. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Shubra. Kia ora, everyone, and welcome. As Shubra said, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to learn a little bit more about New Zealand and my home country. It's really nice to see some familiar names on the chat, so nice to see you again. If you haven't met me, I'm Lily from Tourism New Zealand, based here in London. I thought today that we would start off by taking you through our new consumer campaign so that you can see what some of your customers are going to be seeing in market. So the idea behind our new consumer campaign is really returning to kind of heroing that 100% pure brand, which is something that's existed in the market for a really long time and is a really strong brand asset for New Zealand. And we know that every visitor to Aotearoa, New Zealand, is going to have a unique experience. All the itineraries and holidays are going to look a little bit different, given that there's so many ways that you can experience the destination, but we always know that they're going to leave feeling 100% fulfilled. So we're really trying to invite visitors to travel to New Zealand, experience our unique nature, our unique people and culture, and find what that 100% means to them. So this work is now live in the UK, so you might start seeing it in your digital channels, and I'm going to play one of our hero videos just so you can see what has been played in market, and hopefully that sound will work.
I tried playing basketball when I was growing up.
Do you have?
So as you can see by that film, we're really trying to showcase that wide variety of kind of year-round activities that you can do in New Zealand that are going to leave your clients feeling 100% fulfilled when they're ready to come home. So that was just a bit of a look at our Hero 90 Second. We will obviously be releasing a variety of different content, which are at different lengths and have different calls to action based on where those consumers are at within their booking process. So make sure you look out for those. And we're also trying to make it really easy for you as travel sellers to use a campaign to promote New Zealand on your own channels as well. So we do have a campaign toolkit which provides you with all the information that you need, as well as a library of kind of ready to use assets which you can co-brand and use in your socials or in newsletters when you're talking to clients. You can find that toolkit on our website, traveltrade.newzealand.com, and I'll put the website up again at the end so you'll be able to see that. But I guess the challenge that we face as a bit of a small destination, which I'm sure you will all be aware of, we're on the other side of the world. We're often seen as a bucket list destination. Most people say, I'll get there one day. I'm not quite sure where to start with planning, or the flight's too long and I can't even, face it right now. There sometimes isn't a whole lot of urgency when it comes to actually booking that New Zealand holiday, as we, especially because it's that bucket list trip. They might only go once or twice in their life, so they want to take care when planning the itinerary to get it right. So our job, I guess, as a tourism board is try and create that urgency and help you create that urgency as well. And for us at the moment, it's really getting in front of trade and consumers and telling them why 2026 is the year to send their clients to New Zealand. So I guess New Zealand can offer your clients, so I'm just going to play this as I talk over it. There won't be any sound. But New Zealand does offer your clients so much. For us here in the UK, when we're trying to pick a long-haul holiday destination, beautiful landscapes are often the key driver as to why they might consider New Zealand. And New Zealand absolutely delivers in that space. But I guess what makes New Zealand really unique is the diversity of those landscapes that it can offer. There aren't many destinations in the world where you can start off an itinerary by island hopping on the Bay of Islands in Northland, then have the opportunity to live out your Lord of the Rings fantasy at the Shire. Only 45 minutes from there, you could be fully immersed in Māori culture in Rotorua. The next day, you might be kayaking on beautiful golden sand beaches in Abel, Tasman, finishing off the day with a beautiful glass of Sauvignon Blanc in Marlborough, and then finishing off that trip with an epic scenic flight over the fjords. So I know New Zealand can feel a little bit far away for those of us living here in the UK, but there aren't that many destinations in the world where you can have all those different landscapes and experiences in that one itinerary, and that's what makes New Zealand so unique. So in the spirit of our new campaign and trying to find what your clients 100% in New Zealand could look like, I have kind of pulled together kind of my bucket list of experiences which I think make up a really well balanced New Zealand itinerary. So hopefully some of these might give you a little bit of inspiration for your next itinerary that you're developing in New Zealand. But I always think we've got to start off by including some of the icons or the bucket list activities. So I've chosen one for each of the North and the South Island. And for the South Island, I had to go with Doubtful Sound. Doubtful Sound is absolutely incredible. All you need to think about is towering fjords, lush native rainforests, beautiful cascading waterfalls, and wildlife that's hidden around every corner. If you're not familiar with Doubtful Sound, it's located in Fiordland, which is right at the bottom of the west coast of New Zealand. So in Doubtful, you can either do a day cruise or an overnight, and to me, the overnight is the ultimate bucket list option. It's definitely one of the most memorable experiences that I've ever done in New Zealand. And the thing I love most about it is there's no Wi-Fi, there's no cellular data. So you're really having that opportunity to kind of fully switch off and reap the benefits of being out in nature. So if you're in Doubtful Sound, I recommend staying for a night or two in Te Anau, as it does take a bit of time to travel to. If you are short on time, then Milford Sound is a really great choice too. It's a little bit more accessible. You can even do a day trip from Queenstown, but Milford does have that high visitation, so it is a lot busier. So if getting off the beaten track and being out of the crowds is more important to your clients, then definitely consider Doubtful over Milford. But then for the North Island, I had to go with Hobbiton as my kind of iconic choice to include. I think Hobbiton is such a magical place. Whether you're a fan of the films or not, it's amazing. And their entry-level product is a 60-minute tour of the Shire. You'll end up at the Green Dragon for one of their exclusive brews. And now you can even go inside the Hobbit holes on the tours, where you get a glimpse of what they actually would have been decked out like if they were real. And for the big fans, they do also have additional products like the evening banquet tour, which is incredible. So lots of different options depending on whether you're just doing a quick stop on a road trip or whether you want to stay there and spend some more time. So Hobbiton's in Matamata, which is about 2 hours south of Auckland. So a great place to include if you're doing a bit of a drive between places like Auckland and Rotorua. I always recommend for Hobbiton to pre-booking as well, especially in the summer months, as it does get really busy there. But my next recommendation is to build in a scenic flight into your itinerary. So everyone comes to New Zealand for the landscapes, and I have to say it's even more special seeing them from above. You really get to understand how vast the landscapes are and how much of New Zealand is relatively untouched, especially in the South Island. So if your clients are wanting to do something totally unique, then this is the best type of experience to include, as the possibilities are really endless when it comes to kind of scenic flights. So think heli gin tours, maybe having a glass of champagne on an alpine lake, landing a helicopter on a boat in Milford Sound for lunch, or using it as transport between luxury lodges. There are so many ways that you can incorporate scenic flights into your itinerary, and I highly, highly recommend it for that kind of bucket list experience that's going to exceed expectations. North Island's great if your clients love the beach or forest views, or if they love that dramatic alpine mountains, then definitely include it in the South Island. And also there's scenic flights, I guess, to suit all budget types too. For the lower end, you can be in a small fixed wing flight that you can see on the screen there now, and then they get more expensive as you move into a helicopter or for a more personalized experience. So there's definitely options for everyone. But otherwise, my next tip is to kind of add in something with a little bit of adventure to get that heart rate going. New Zealand's obviously really well known for its adventure tourism, anything from zip lines to bungee jumping to skydiving to canyoning, heli skiing, four-wheel driving, literally anything is possible in New Zealand. I often say this, so if you've heard me say this before, I apologize for repeating myself, but I'm definitely a bit of a scaredy cat when it comes to a lot of the adventure activities, so you won't catch me bungee jumping or skydiving, but for me, I really love a jet boat ride. It's a really good way to get the adrenaline up, but also you do get access to some of the most beautiful scenery in New Zealand that you can't really access by car or foot. So it's a really nice way to have kind of a thrilling experience while also seeing the scenery as well. But yeah, as I say, there's something kind of adventurous for anyone. Otherwise, if they do want a slightly slower pace, New Zealand punches really well above its weight in terms of producing world-class wines. We've got 10 different wine regions across the country which you can explore, so it's really easy to add them into any itinerary. My favourite is the Wairarapa, which is just north of Wellington. It's a little bit underrated, and it's home to a small number of family-owned boutique vineyards. So what that means is when you're going in to do your tasting and you're going to the cellar door, often you're meeting with the winemaker or the owner. It's someone that is responsible for creating that brand and that product, and they're the ones, having that one-to-one conversation with you. And I think that's something quite special and quite unique to this part of New Zealand. Otherwise, Marlborough, for you Sauvignon Blanc fans, Marlborough is the perfect place to go. It's located in the top of the South Island. Otherwise, Hawke's Bay on the west coast of the North Island has some beautiful reds too. So there are actually a lot of varieties available in New Zealand. And now you can often stay at some of the vineyards, such as Craigie Range, which is pictured there. A lot of them now have cottages where you can stay on site. And that leads me in quite nicely to my next tip, which is about, trying to mix up that accommodation. I think itineraries are elevated really easy when you do mix up that accommodation. And New Zealand has a great variety of options from hostels, motels, hotels to luxury lodges. There's something for every type of traveller. But people travel to New Zealand for the landscape. So why not kind of choose some of the accommodation that is sitting within those landscapes? You can find anything from a tree house, a glass pod, or, as I said, on site at a vineyard. There's some really beautiful properties in New Zealand, and I think that's a really easy way to just elevate an itinerary rather than staying in hotels the entire time. But otherwise, my top list is not complete without incorporating a cultural experience. So those of you who are familiar with New Zealand, you'll know that sharing our Māori customs is very important to us as a nation. Our visitors, we know they love returning home with a deeper understanding of our Indigenous people and how their principles kind of influence our modern way of living. So if your clients are interested in experiencing Māori culture, you're definitely going to have more options in the North Island, as this is where the majority of our Māori population live. So I recommend trying to build in a visit to either Northland or Rotorua if those experiences are important. But there are so many ways, I guess, as you can see from that list, that you can see and experience New Zealand. So hopefully that has just kind of given you some inspiration as to how you can help your clients find their 100% in New Zealand. But I thought we'd just finish off with a couple of the more practical kind of pointers when it comes to selling New Zealand, especially for those on the call who are a little bit new to the country. So once your clients have, chosen that they want to go to New Zealand, it's their next holiday choice. The next question they'll often ask you is, when is the best time to go? And I guess the key thing I would love for you to take away is that New Zealand is truly a year-round destination. So each season is a great time to be in the country. We know that from this side of the world, a lot of your customers are going to want to travel during the New Zealand summer months, which is between December to February. It's definitely our peak period in New Zealand. And there's this perception that because it's a bucket list trip, they want to go when they think the weather is going to be at its best. But I do really think the shoulder seasons in New Zealand have a lot to offer. Like if I had a friend who came up to me and they said, I've got one chance in my life to go to New Zealand, when would you recommend? I would always, hand on heart, say New Zealand's autumn time, which is between March and May. I find these months, the weather is a little bit more kind of settled. Yes, maybe a couple degrees cooler, but it's typically just in the evenings. You're still getting those kind of beautiful, long, sunny days after the summer. But the best thing I think about traveling within these months and outside our peak season is when you're out in the landscapes, you're often getting those maybe cycling or hiking trails to yourself, and you're not really passing that many people, which I think is a really special way to experience New Zealand. Whereas if you did that same activity in a couple months before in January, it might feel a lot busier. So I really love the fact that you often have a lot of the landscapes to yourself in those shoulder seasons. And I do usually have a video that I play, but I won't play it today, but you can find it on our website, which just goes through each of the different seasons and the differences kind of what your clients could experience. So I recommend, if you're not so familiar with it and you want to get a bit more confident explaining what each time of the year looks like in New Zealand, then definitely go and take a look at that one. But otherwise, often, your clients have decided they want to go to New Zealand. They now know what time they want to visit. Usually the next question is going to be, how long do I need in New Zealand? And this is something I find quite tricky to answer. It's kind of like asking how long is a piece of string. I typically always recommend an absolute minimum of 2 weeks, especially when you're coming from this side of the world. Ideally, you need 2 weeks per island to really feel like you've had the ability to kind of get off the beaten track and explore more and see kind of everything that you want to. But appreciate not everyone has that amount of time, and that shouldn't put you off. You can definitely have a fulfilling trip to New Zealand in a couple of weeks. The trick is just kind of selecting the right regions that suit your clients' interests. So to help you kind of make a bit more of an informed decision about the best place to send your clients, we'll take a quick look at the key differences. So if you're brand new to New Zealand, we've obviously got two main islands, the North and the South. Most of our long-haul flights are going to come into Auckland at the top of the North Island, and then otherwise into Christchurch, kind of halfway through the South Island. So keep those in mind as your typical kind of entry and exit points. The North Island, typically, when I think about the differences, I usually think about it being a little bit warmer in climate. For example, Northland is known as the winterless North. It's also more densely populated. So 3/4 of New Zealanders actually live in the North Island versus only 1/4 in the South. So that means it's often a little bit more cosmopolitan. We have bigger cities in the North Island, so it can be great for people who need a bit of a city break within their itinerary. As I said earlier, our Māori population is also a little bit higher in the North Island, and this is where you're going to find more cultural products to include in your itineraries as well. And in terms of landscapes, when I think of the North, I think golden sand beaches, lush green native forests, and that real geothermal and volcanic scenery that's in the centre of the North Island. Whereas in the South, it's typically a little bit cooler in temperature, less populated. The driving can be a little bit more technical as you're often traveling over large kind of mountain ranges, but those mountains are what makes the South Island landscapes so impressive. As I said, think towering mountains, deep fjords, stunning glaciers. It's a perfect place to send people who want to be out in nature. I think a good New Zealand itinerary includes both islands. Just because the landscapes do change and differ so much between them, I think it's really lovely to be able to experience both. And then I'm just going to quickly whip you through how to get around. So you're kind of deep into your itinerary planning. The next question they'll often ask you is how to get around New Zealand. And we're all probably aware New Zealand is definitely a touring destination. It's not a place where you travel to and you visit maybe one or two regions. People from the UK are going to be visiting, 5, 6 or more, depending on how long they're in the country for. So the first and most common way of getting around is obviously self-drive, which is no doubt one of the best ways to see New Zealand. It also gives you a lot of freedom to get off the beaten track and outside of those main city centres. But I can imagine if you haven't been to New Zealand or put together a kind of a driving itinerary, I can imagine it's quite difficult to know where to start. So I just wanted to bring your attention to these themed highways. And they're available on our website as well. But what these do is they pull together a couple of regions and they recommend a route to travel through, which you can then see a lot of the kind of hidden secret gems or the iconic experiences, and they also recommend accommodation along the way. So these can be a nice way for you just to get your head around how to travel around New Zealand. But that's also where I really recommend leaning into, your team at ANZCRO. They're real experts in New Zealand in particular. And so I would really kind of lean into their expertise to help you figure out the best way to travel around the country. And then obviously to get in between the North and the South Island, there's not a bridge like I often get asked. There is a ferry service though where you can take your rental vehicle on board. So you've got two operators, the Inter-Islander and the Blue Bridge. It's a 3.5-hour journey across the Cook Strait. Incredible scenery, so really well worth doing if you're not kind of tight on time. My one tip with this one though is if you know that you want to include this, is get this booked in early, as I think there's only like 5 to 8 sailings a day. And it's used a lot domestically in New Zealand. So definitely get that one booked in, as they do sell out in the peak season. But otherwise, it's a 30-minute flight between the North and the South Island, so it's nice and easy to just pop over. And I guess Air New Zealand, just to note that we're really well connected by air. Air New Zealand travels to 20 different airports across the country. So this is actually a great tip if you've got people in New Zealand for a short amount of time, or maybe they don't want to drive all the time. You can really use these air routes to kind of connect your clients to different regions and kind of cut down that travel time. And then we've obviously got some beautiful scenic train journeys as well, which are really easily incorporated into an itinerary if your clients don't want to drive the full trip. The first is the Northern Explorer, which travels through the North Island. Then you've got the Coastal Pacific, which is between the top of the South and Picton down to Christchurch via Kaikoura, and that travels all the way down the coastline. So incredible sea views all along that route, which is lovely. And then you have the Transalpine, which goes straight across the South Island between Christchurch and the West Coast, and probably the most well used by visitors. So the Coastal Pacific and Transalpine about 5-hour journeys, and the Northern Explorer is about 12 hours, but you can break that one up. But again, similar to the ferry, my tip for that one is if you are including that in your itinerary, get that booked in early, especially if it's outside the peak season, as they drop down their schedule to not every day. So definitely one to plan out before you get down to that region and realize it's not running for another few days and you have to wait. But that's a bit of a kind of a whistle-stop tour. into New Zealand, some of my top tips, our new campaign, and also some of the key questions that I get asked by trade. So if you want to kind of learn a little bit more about New Zealand or revisit some of those things that I've talked about, everything that you need is available on our trade website, traveltrade.newzealand.com. This is our site that has been created especially for you as a travel seller, so you can find lots of downloadable maps, itinerary inspiration, training tutorials, anything that you need to feel more confident in selling New Zealand. So definitely take a look at that if you need a little bit more support. But that's it from me this morning. I will pass you back over to Shubra.
I mean, that truly was a whistle-stop tour. I mean, I mean, it's just incredible. And obviously what Lily's kind of explained to you is just a taster of how incredible this destination is. I was very fortunate to have gone this year, and it is just wonderful. The scenery is just mind-blowing, and it's just, I'd like to think of myself as being, really well traveled, but what I saw and experienced in New Zealand absolutely just took my breath away. So, definitely when you're talking to clients, it's a destination that you really need to kind of, and especially if it's somewhere that they're looking to go to, is ensure that they really get the best of kind of both islands. So just to give you a little taster of New Zealand, here is a little short video we've put together. So tomorrow you'll all be receiving an email. My colleague Casa is on the call as well, and she'll be sending an email with a follow-up from today's webinar, and it will also include a link to this video as well, and lots of kind of marketing and social elements that you can use. So yeah, everything will be sent to you, and please feel free to kind of share on your own socials within your own branches as well. We've put some itineraries together, so these are our social media tiles that we've encompassed the itinerary, so you can literally use these as well, so can obviously be put on your own socials. And here are all the different, because we've got this kind of Kiwi sale going on, we've got some fantastic kind of booking bonuses and discounts. So we've got an exclusive 10% off discount on motorhomes with THL. You can actually earn as well. So as a thank you from us, you get a £100 Amazon voucher if you make a booking by the 30th of September. You've also got credits against Air New Zealand. We've got hotel reductions, experiences. So any kind of itinerary that you're putting together, speak to our fabulous team. And I've got to say, I really pride myself in, the reservations team at ANZCRO. Everybody, has this real passion for talking about New Zealand. There's a real knowledge there. There's a depth of knowledge as well. Obviously, we appreciate that clients do their research. However, we feel we know it better. And we just want to be able to kind of work with you just to showcase the destination in its best possible form. So, all of the different links will be sent to you tomorrow. We also have our own agents Facebook group. So I ensure, and the poor marketing team that we have, that we post in there every single day. So it can be from competitions or itinerary samples. It's well worth looking in there, reacting with it as well, so it keeps it on your feed. But it's really to really inspire you and your clients. So ensure you join the group as well. And that kind of very quickly encompasses New Zealand. I have to thank Lily for joining us today, but this is your opportunity to ask any questions. I'm just going to ask Castor if there's any questions or comments that have been left that we need to know about. But yeah, again, very much appreciate your time. By obviously attending the webinar, you're also thrown into a draw as well for winning £150 Marks and Spencer's vouchers. So we'll be doing the draw in the next couple of days as well. So appreciate you giving up your time to be involved with us today. I don't know if there's any comments or any questions anybody wants to ask. Don't be shy.
I've just answered one of them, Shubra, about the difference between the Doubtful and Milford Sound. And yeah, it's not necessarily about the scenic differences. I think both are quite similar. It's just that Doubtful Sound is 6 times larger than Milford, so there's a lot more to explore when you're out on the vessel. And then it's about whether your clients have a preference of, if they just want to see it and they want to fit it into a short itinerary, then Milford Sound is probably best for you. If they want to get away from the crowds, off the beaten track, and feel like they're kind of a little bit further into nature, then that's when Doubtful Sound is possibly the better choice.
And I've got to say, we at ANZCRO, we include as part of our presentation that if clients do have that little bit longer, if they can spend that extra time, it's so worth doing Doubtful Sound. And we've definitely seen an increase in Doubtful Sound bookings. And even feedback from clients to agents is it was just so worth it. It's a long way to travel. And if you're going to go all that way, it's just so worth doing those kind of special elements to the trip and adding it to the itinerary. Anything else? I think I saw
I do see another comment in here. If someone asks about budget, what do you recommend for a 2 to 3 week stay?
I'm not so good on the budgets. I might not be able to give a good answer for that.
I mean, for us, it would just be, tends to be kind of more B&B options and 3-star budget hotels that you can find in, kind of the city areas. We don't go as low as kind of backpacking kind of elements. But another way to really bring the cost down is motorhoming. It gives you that kind of independent travel, but it also is quite cost effective. So if people are on the budgets, then that is a definite way of keeping that budget down. So yeah, that would be a really good recommendation. And obviously we do have an exclusive 10% discount this month. So, I mean, apart from obviously you all want to go there, Lily's the person to contact for that. But listen, really appreciate your feedback and just attending and really encompassing, what we feel and have a passion for with New Zealand. So thank you for your time. And yeah, look out for the email coming out from us tomorrow with all the social media elements. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Kia ora.